Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of HBCU Huddle. I am CJ Hurt, joined alongside, as always, by Mike Wallace. Mike, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? Good to be here again. You know what I mean? We back-to-back video weeks.
Yep.
A lot to get to. You know what I mean? This is the time of year where we can break a lot of stuff down, man. I'm looking forward to another good show.
Absolutely. And
we've
got a great show lined up for you as well. The DOJ reached a conclusion in their investigation into the traffic stop last year involving Delaware State's women's lacrosse team. So we'll touch on that. Eddie George is going to get some really cool professional development opportunities. Well, we'll talk about that as well. Softball, the regionals are here. Oh, it's so much fun. There are two HBCUs competing in this year's softball tournament. We'll talk about that as well. We've got a great pick six. I went through and ranked to the best of my ability the 6 best current coaches at the HBCU level, not of all time, not of the past decade, just the best right now. So I went out there and I did that. But first, let's start with our culture maker. We don't often do that. We don't often start with a culture maker, but Reggie Barlow of the DC Defenders, XFL Coach of the Year, is our culture maker this week. They had a great season in the XFL. The Defenders did. They were the best team in the XFL. Unfortunately, they came up short. They ended up losing in the XFL championship game. But Coach Barlow, like I said, Coach of the Year in the XFL, Alabama State head coach from 2007 to 2014, Virginia State head coach from 16 to 21, led them to their first undefeated regular season in school history, 2-time Black College Football National Champion, and XFL Coach of the Year. Mike, when you look at what Coach Barlow did in the XFL during the XFL season, and we talk a lot about these other leagues popping up and what that means for players and the opportunities players have to get more on tape, more film, and maybe make it into the NFL eventually. Do you think Coach Barlow has earned, based off of what he's done plus this season in the XFL, do you think he's earned at least a look from NFL teams as, I'm not even going to say head coach, as an assistant coach, and maybe even a head coach at high-level college football? Yeah,
I mean, certainly. What you look at these, first off, congratulations to Coach Barlow and what he did for the DC franchise there in my hometown. The XFL, the USFL, all of these, pro leagues that are not the NFL are training grounds. And it's training grounds from everyone from, the last player on the special teams unit all the way up to the head coach in terms of using these opportunities as showcase. You're building your resume. This man can coach. He's a winner. We had the graphic up there, 2-time Black College champion. What he was able to do at every single level has been about winning. And when you put together a resume that includes a head coaching stop somewhere where you guided a team almost all the way to a championship, then certainly he deserves the opportunity to be looked at, if not as a head coach in the NFL, because those are absolutely so hard to come by, but you should be able to be a prioritized position coach or coordinator one way or another. I believe Barlow is a defensive guy, right? So, why wouldn't he be able to be, a defensive team coordinator from that side of the football and just take the next step? He's young. I want to say I don't believe he's 50 yet. He might just be right around 50. He still has a lot of future ahead of him as a head coach, man. And I look at that opportunity as one that he could take and then continue to build on that. And we'll see how training camps go. Because a lot of times these seasons, the XFL and the USFL, they end right around now. And now you get a chance to bring in guys for mini camps and training camps going into the summer. And he should be on somebody's staff at some point moving forward.
He's 51.
Yeah,
so he's 51.
I figured that. He was in college when I was in college. So, I remember his name. I remember, playing when Grambling played Alabama State. I remember how he was, a name to be reckoned with. So, it seems like he's a guy that I've crossed paths with at some point in my career as a student or professionally. And, he's young enough to keep it going for sure.
Had a career as a player in the NFL as well. Good returner. So he made a career out of that and then got into coaching.
Okay. I might have been mistaken. I thought he was on the defensive side, but he could have been. I must have him. I'm gonna look him up real quick. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go.
I didn't mean to
look him up and tell me what his record was as a coach on his way out of Alabama State. I don't think he had a bad record at Alabama State. I think it was more of a situation where Alabama State felt like, okay, we need to get over the hump.
Right.
And he is a consistent second best team in our division type of thing, 7-3 or 6-4, something along those lines. We need to get over that hump, and he's just not able to do it for us, and that's why they didn't renew his contract all those years ago, if I recall correctly. But I'm with you, Mike, on the giving him another shot standpoint, or a shot. He's never been an assistant coach in the NFL. Giving him another shot to be a head football coach collegiately, if that's something that he wants to do, because he's shown an ability to not only win everywhere he's been,
right,
but to build rosters and to build a coaching staff.
Right.
There was nobody. There was nobody on roster when he comes to the XFL to take over the DC Defenders. Nobody at all. And he said, they say, hey, here you go. Get 51 players and build your coaching staff, and he did so. He went out there and built a pretty good roster and got a really good coaching staff, and that's why they were 9-1 this season in the regular season, got all the way to the championship game.
Yeah.
Like that's why. So if you're looking at for an assistant coach who's got a deep phone book as it pertains to hiring replacement coordinators. I can't remember who I was talking to about this week, or if I was listening to it on a podcast. I think it was the Jacobs and Robbie downstairs. I can't remember. It all blends together. But it is, and it's whoever brought it up is right. It's a great point. Cool, you've got your coordinators there. You got your people there. They do a really good job. Well, guess what? They're going to want to move on to bigger and better things. That's just natural. Right. So your defensive coordinator leaves you, becomes a head coach. Your running back coach goes someplace else, and he becomes an offensive coordinator. Your linebacker coach, he's leaving to become associate head coach for somebody else. Do you have enough connections to be able to replace those people on staff? And I think that when you look at Coach Barlow, and he kind of showed it this year in the XFL because he had to build an entire coaching staff. I think that with the experience he has coaching at the HBCU level, at the FCS level, plus what he has coaching, the experience he has coaching at the XFL level, I think he's made enough connections to be able to call people up and be like, hey, I've got a tight end coaching position open. Would you like to come through? I've got a coordinator position open. Would you like to come through and start off in special teams? And then when this coordinator leaves, maybe we get you onto the offensive coordinating side of the ball. I think he can do that as well. And it's very clear he's got an eye for the talent, the physical talent that you need on the field. I think he'd be a good assistant coach at the NFL level. I think he'd be a great head football coach again.
No, you absolutely said it correctly, and I stand corrected. He is an offensive guy. He's a receiver. We were talking about Barlow, but I was thinking of Eddie Robinson Jr. Right?
Got it.
I was thinking of that because of the current Alabama State coach. But absolutely, man. Plus, in addition to what you just said as his resume, he has 7 seasons of NFL experience too, with the Jaguars, the Raiders, and the Buccaneers. So when you add all of those things in, and the kind of mind that he has and the mindset that he has, I see candidate right there. And the Defenders went 9-1. You asked about his record at Alabama State, 49-42. So he was above 500. He had three first place finishes in the East, with Alabama State, but they could just never really get over that hump. I mean, running up against Grambling and Southern year after year in the SWAC, and then Alcorn State. That's when your guy McNair was in his prime too, coaching down there as well. So, again, solid guy. Kudos to him. 9-1 season with the XFL's DC Defenders, and they just came up a little short against the Arlington Renegades in the XFL championship
Bob
game.
Stoops is coaching the Renegades.
I know,
Bob Stoops retires
He's
from
having
Oklahoma,
fun, man. He's
making
fun.
all that money at Oklahoma, retires. Think, okay, Bob's big game. Bob is just going to chill out. It's like, nah, let's coach in the XFL. Why not?
Yeah.
Just for giggles.
Remember, Steve Spurrier did it, a few years ago in a different league.
In the Alliance of American Football.
So those guys, there's no pressure. It's one of those leagues where you don't have to go out and do anything other than just be a coach, right?
Yep.
Just be a coach. And they have fun. It's a short season. They don't travel a whole lot of ways. And it's something that they could do. But those guys are just doing it because their career is behind them. They're just trying to stay active. Guys like Barlow are doing it to try to take that next step and be a stepping
Do you
stone.
think that looking at the XFL, the NFL will say, hey, not only are we going to look at the XFL for players, but it will be in our best interest to look towards the XFL for coaching spots? It's not a whole lot. It's only 32 head coaching spots. It's only, 64 offensive, defensive coordinator spots in the history of the NFL. 103 NFL seasons. There have only been 27 black football coaches. 5 of those have been interim coaches, so only 22 black football coaches. Do you think this can be a legitimate pathway for a coach? I don't want to say Bieniemy, but that's the one that immediately comes to mind for like Eric Bieniemy to say, okay, you know what? I've got this wealth of coordinating experience. Let me go over here and be a head coach over here and show NFL teams, scouts, executives what I can do as a head coach as well.
It theoretically, yes, right? But in reality, the barrier between black coaches getting head coaching jobs in the NFL isn't necessarily a shortage of experience, knowledge, or resume opportunities. It's a lack of relationship with the ownership level.
Okay.
Because they're not in those rooms. They're not their peers. They're not guys that a lot of times went to major big-time universities where you can be, you could have been a star player. Let's just say Jerry Jones, where he went to college, right? I think he went to Arkansas. Were you a star player at Arkansas or on that coaching staff at Arkansas where you had an opportunity to be in a room with Jerry Jones in one of those alumni meetings or alma mater type meetings? I think that's the issue. The issue is relationships, and until a lot of black coaches can put themselves in that corporate space or have the ownership level. We just saw the Washington Commanders switch ownerships. Now Snyder's out, and now you have the owner of the Sixers with Magic Johnson is part of that. So when Magic goes in there now, he's in the ownership room. He's going to make sure that, hey, we should have some diversity when the next coaching job comes up. So as long as you can have allies in those rooms where those high-level meetings are happening, that's the sure sign that you're going to have some progress. Until then, it's going to be tough.
I think you and I have talked about it either on air or off air. I can't remember. One of the things, Jason Garrett for the Dallas Cowboys was head coach for the Cowboys for about 2.5 seasons longer than you would expect. Than he probably should have been. And Jerry Jones at the press conference to announce Mike McCarthy as head coach, I do believe, brought up the fact he was asked about letting Jason Garrett go or moving on or something like that. And he's just like, yo, it was hard. It was hard. I've known Jason Garrett his whole life. I've had a Garrett on staff, a Garrett, a family member of Jason Garrett's on staff since I've owned the Cowboys. And you go back and you look and you're like, oh, granddaddy was there, dad was there, uncles were there, son is there now. And so that is the relationship that you talk about. Where you don't necessarily have to be. You brought up the coaching staff of Jerry Jones. We're just using Jerry Jones as an example here,
right.
But it's all of them, right? It's all of the owners,
right.
And were you on the coaching staff? Probably not. Jerry Jones is old. The coaches who coached Jerry when he was a kid, he was a college kid. They're way too old. But what you were though, you were the toddler running around tagging along with dad on the sideline, right? And then so you grow up into football, and Jerry Jones like, oh, I loved your dad. He was one of the best coaches I had. Can you do what he does? You can? All right, come through and coach for me.
Yeah.
And then you parlay that, the Ryans, you parlay that into more, well, yes, the Shanahans as well.
The legacy names.
The legacy names. You parlay that into more opportunities.
Yeah.
Rob Ryan, another one of those football guys, is on staff a little bit too long. But he gets to stay, and then he leaves and gets another job. He gets let go and gets another job because of what his dad did. Rex Ryan, kind of similar. So I'm with you on that. It's going to be real hard until you get into those rooms to build the relationships with the owners for black coaches to get in there. But one can dream, one can hope. All this talk about coaches got me to thinking, though, Mike, who are the best coaches right now at the HBCU level? And that's what this week's Pick Six is. We did the best coaches all time. We did that during the football season. Go back and check that episode out if you missed it. It was great. Mike's list was superb. But I did right now. Right now. All right, so let's get into it. Coming in at number 6, Alvin Parker. Coach Parker, Virginia Union, 23-6 in the CIAA, 30-11 overall. Got to the D2 playoffs this year. One of, if I remember correctly, 3 HBCUs to get to the D2 playoffs this past season. And most importantly to me, 3-1 against Virginia Union, baby. And when you look at the CIAA and you look at the top, Virginia Union, Virginia State are always near there. And winning that game matters not just because of beating your rival, but because it usually puts you at the top in that division of the CIAA. So I got Alvin Parker coming in at number 6. At number 5, who do I have? I have Eric Dooley. Because, Mike, I've changed this list like 5 times. 5 times I changed this list.
Eric, you sure this isn't Jacob's list? Jacob's list
Dooley,
is the top 6 black college coaches.
2-time SWAC coach, 2-time SWAC West champion, 2 different programs, Prairie View A&M, and then Southern. First year at Southern was SWAC West champion. I love everything that Coach Eric Dooley has going on, and he'll be looking to take the next step, be it winning more convincingly the SWAC West and winning the SWAC title going on to the Celebration Bowl. So Coach Dooley is my number 5. Number 4, Damon Wilson. Morgan State head coach, 13 seasons at Bowie State, though. So we brought up Virginia State, Virginia Union. The only team that was above them was Bowie State because of the things that Coach Damon Wilson did. 3 straight CIAA conference championships in 2021, 2019, and 2018. 5 NCAA playoff berths. 3 CIAA Coach of the Year honors, D2 Coach of the Year in 2021. 1 year at Morgan State. He needs a little bit more time, but he's still a great coach to me. Coming in at number 3, I got my boy. Got a lot of good young men's out there. Fred McNair, 2-time SWAC champion. And think about that run he went on, where it always seemed like, all right, who's going to be at the Celebration Bowl? Well, it's going to be Alcorn State and somebody from the MEAC. Alcorn State and probably North Carolina A&T going to be at the Celebration Bowl. 41-29 career record, 31-15 in conference. No losing seasons in conference. I think last year was his worst in conference season, and they finished 4-4.
Right.
And so I my favorite coach at the HBCU level is Fred McNair. But the best coaches, I got Coach McNair in at 3. Number 2, Buddy Pugh. You just read off his accolades at South Carolina State. 8-time MEAC champ, only 2 losing seasons in 20-plus years. Finished ranked nationally, 6 seasons. Celebration Bowl champion, 4-time playoff, 4 playoff experiences, 3-time Black College Football National Champion, 8-time MEAC champion, 4-time MEAC Coach of the Year, 146-87 overall record, 112-42 conference record. Like, he's number 2. And number 1 for me is Coach Willie Simmons over at Florida A&M. Playoff appearance, being the second best team in the SWAC in that Coach Prime era. If he gets Prime, not necessarily week 1, if he gets Prime week 6, week 7, who knows how those games play out in the Orange Blossom Classic. I got Willie Simmons at 1 as the best HBCU football coach right now. Mike.
Yes. Leave it up, Jake.
Here's what we'll do. Jacob, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Mike, we'll throw it back up there.
Okay.
And Mike, you will share your thoughts on this list.
Okay.
All right, we got more coming your way next up on HBCU Huddle.
The summer concert experience of a lifetime.
My name is Erika Badu.
With the Grammy Award-winning Erika Badu. Erika Badu, like you've never seen her before. The music, the vibe of Erika Badu with special guest Yassine Bey. The Follow Me Tour with Erika Badu. July 21st at FedEx Forum. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Can't be quick, can't be tired. Can't be tired. I be in a loop, she be in a group. Brody with her friend, throwing alley-oop. Turn something to nothing, bro, I'm living proof. How can I lose when we the who's?
This is the Nike Air Footscape woven.
Yep.
So this is kind of
too.
a lifestyle running shoe.
Yeah.
That's sold out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These have resale value, too.
Oh, those have resale value on it.
Footscapes are comfortable.
Footscapes are so
I love
comfortable.
Footscapes.
They're so
comfortable,
comfortable.
light.
They're
they
hideous to look
breathable.
at, but they are so comfy.
It's a cow.
Yeah, they're comfy.
The
Just
top
not that
area.
one. Don't look at that
top
particular
area.
one.
The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
The soulful and powerful voice. Two-time Grammy Award winner, Lauren Daigle. September 6th, FedEx Forum. The Kaleidoscope Tour. Tickets are on sale now at laurendaigle.com. Lauren Daigle, live in concert. Produced by AEG Presents.
Welcome back in, everybody, to HBCU Huddle. We're talking about the best college football, best HBCU college football coaches
Right now.
right now. And
Right now.
HBCU college is redundant because it's college in HBC. That's the C.
Yeah.
So best HBCU football coaches right now. Throw the list back up. These were my 6. Mike, did I leave anybody off? 1. And 2, would you rearrange this list at all?
It's hard to say you left anybody off, although just because I'm going to play contrarian and I'm not going to just say, hey, perfect. You know, record-wise, he hasn't been around long enough to probably bump anybody off. And I'm of this mindset. When you say somebody got snubbed or somebody's left off a list, you have to be able to remove someone who made the list in order to justify why the person that you think is snubbed got snubbed. So I can't say who Trey Oliver, NC Central's
honorable
head
mention
coach
Trey Oliver
should be, or where he should replace. But I think, he's 20-15 overall. He's been at North Carolina Central for about 4 years. He missed the season because of COVID. He's the defending Black College National champion. Knocked off the best record-wise team that we've ever seen come through HBCUs, at least in the modern era, in Prime's Jackson State team. So I think there's room for him to be at least considered. So I may have put him at 5.
So Evan Parker's off and you're moving.
I moved Dooley down.
Dooley
I
down.
moved Parker probably out. Other than that, the only other change I would make, and I really absolutely love this guy at number 1 but I will put Buddy Pugh above. I will put Buddy Pugh and Fred McNair above Willie Simmons. I would knock Willie Simmons down to 3 because, and here's the reason why. Like, Willie Simmons has had remarkable players come through, remarkable stats. On both sides of the football. He put a couple guys in the NFL, that we've seen, MEAC Players of the Year, SWAC, all conference players already. But he hasn't really ever won the big game yet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the 2 times he had a chance to do it, he lost both times. And then when he got to the playoffs, he couldn't get it done. That's not to say that he's not a good coach. I just think the track record of Buddy Pugh and Fred McNair, to me, goes a little bit further than Willie Simmons, but he's definitely top 3. So I would go Buddy Pugh 1, Fred McNair 2, Willie Simmons 3, Damon Wilson 4. I would have gone Trey Oliver 5 and Dooley 6, and then see how it plays out from there. But that list, I can't argue much from there at all.
I went with Simmons 1 because I honestly think he's the best coach at the HBCU.
Yes, he very well could
be. In that prime era, right, which he's in that, the past 3 or 4 seasons. Outside of Pugh and Oliver, nobody could keep up with him. Nobody did. Dooley did a good job trying to get kind of sort of close. But you look at it, the toughest game in conference that they played was that game, they being Jackson State, was the Orange Blossom Classic 2 years ago.
2 years in a row.
Where
basically.
it was.
Well, no, they blew him out
the second time. The second year. Yeah. I thought about putting Buddy Pugh up there just from a legacy standpoint, but there are moments of the ebbs and the flows of it, right? There are moments, and this is by design, I think, by design of what South Carolina State does, where they get players in, takes them 3 years to develop, and then they're ready to go. So you got to hit it at the right time.
Yeah.
And so hitting all of the positions at the right time is hard, real hard to do. In South Carolina State, they'll do it though. I mean, Buddy Pugh has done it. That's why he's been at South Carolina State as long as he has.
Yeah.
But it is, they might be another 2 years away, 3 years away maybe from contending for a MEAC title and a Celebration Bowl appearance, just because of how they go out there and build and what he's looking for in rosters and players.
Yeah.
And then as far as McNair goes, winning the big game is important. You could argue McNair hasn't done it either with the Celebration Bowls that he's come up as the ultimate big games. He's won the SWAC.
Yeah.
He has won the SWAC. I think it was a different SWAC though. Not sure if it was as competitive, certainly near the top.
Right.
Maybe in the middle part it was, but at the top
now. It's wide open now.
It's so wide open now. So that's why I did it the way I did.
And you defended it. And there's no reason to like, I'm only combating it or counter positioning a couple of things just because for the sake of, discourse and discussion.
Yeah.
But I have no problem with the way that you have yours up there. And the truth of the matter is, if you said, okay, which one coach would I pick out of the HBCU ranks right now to put at a FBS powerhouse program, who could I take off of the HBCU ranks and put at Mississippi State or Auburn to take over tomorrow and feel confident? It would be Willie Simmons.
Yeah.
Because I think he gives you the fact that he's been at that FBS level when he was at Clemson as a player. He's coached at every single level. He knows how to go out and recruit. He's young enough to still understand the dynamic of the transfer portal and all that you have to put into it. And then he's a tremendous X's and O's and a development type coach. So he has the complete package. And if he's in HBCU, and I'm not saying this like it's a put down, but if he's still at FAMU at the HBCU ranks 2 years from now, something has gone tragically wrong. He needs to be at that next level. It's time for him to get that kind of opportunity so that somebody else can come to FAMU and build that program and still show all the things that he's shown there. So, that list is phenomenal. There are a couple more names that we probably could have thrown up there, but that's the pecking order, the top six.
Hit us up.
I'm cool with your pick six.
Hit me up. Hit us up on Twitter. I'm at ConRadicalness on there. My mic check is Mike's Twitter handle. Let us know if you would like to add somebody, take somebody off, if somebody's too high, somebody's too low. Real quick, Mike, the DOJ reached an agreement with the Delaware State, or reached a conclusion with the Delaware State women's lacrosse team investigation. For those of you who might not remember, Delaware State's lacrosse team was pulled over in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, and the police officers hopped on the bus and accused them of having drugs and drug paraphernalia on them. It was real. They were real condescending, talking at these young women, said the drug-sniffing dogs smelled drugs. There were no drugs on the bus, and they were allowed to go about their day having nothing drastically happen, but it was I don't want to call it embarrassing. It was way more dramatic than what it needed to be. I'll say that. Mike, when you saw they reached a conclusion, did you think it was the right conclusion to reach? Are you okay with the findings? Is there more that needs to be done?
I mean, basically what the Department of Justice essentially said was, it was the Liberty County Sheriff's Office in Savannah, near Savannah, Georgia. And they basically said, listen, this shouldn't have happened and it shouldn't have escalated to this point. Let's go back and look at your procedures and your process when it comes to stopping and searching. And the Department of Justice said you have to revamp that. So that sheriff's office complied and said, okay, let's put some measures in place so that we can be a little bit less combative when it comes to these kind of stop and searches. So there was no heavy punitive damages that came out of this. And I will say, when we talked about this story last year, it happened April 20th of 2022, and the head man, the sheriff at Liberty County is William Bowman, and they keep pointing out he's black. The sheriff in that county is a black man, so they wanted to minimize and reduce and mitigate any racial tension that could have gone into this. However, majority of the officers that boarded that bus were white, and they brought dogs on, right? So that's an issue right there when it comes to that. They said that they were just operating out of standard practices, but it wasn't intimidating and a scarring and a jarring.
That's the word.
Yeah, intimidating, scarring, and jarring. And it's happened, and now all sides have to adjust to it. And so that's how that story got resolved. Good. I'm glad that it did come back to have to be resolved and addressed. And hopefully that county sheriff's office will learn from it and move forward.
Absolutely. And it's like you said, man, it is just because the sheriff is black doesn't mean that like the police misconduct doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. It's not a black and white thing when we talk about police officers. It is a policing thing. Mm-hmm. We've seen black police officers take it too far as well. We've seen it happen in this city. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that they're looking at policy and procedures to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. Because, Mike, you hit the nail on the head, the word I was looking for. It was intimidating. It was anxiety-inducing just for me watching it. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they are working through that. And it is,
though. Like I haven't been stopped by police in a long time. But the handful of times that I have been, especially when you always feel like I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
But this bus was driving in the wrong lane. You know what I mean? Or had signaled and got into the wrong lane, or so the bus did something to warrant the police presence. And then when you see police getting on the bus, there's going to be anxiety.
Yeah.
So you're already going to be defensive. You're going to be tense. So it doesn't need to be heightened by like in that situation when you know that first of all, I'm on the bus. I don't see any weapons. I'm not in a harmful situation. I'm not in danger. So let me diffuse it. And I think the officers in that situation had an opportunity and an obligation to diffuse the tension as opposed to add to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, last thing before we get out of here, Mike. Softball regionals are up. We got softball regionals taking place this week. We've got a couple of HBCUs there in the Athens regional. You see North Carolina Central. In the Baton Rouge regional, you see Prairie View A&M. Those games, first pitch for North Carolina Central is at 4:30 on Friday. They take on the number 14 seeded Georgia Bulldogs. The Prairie View A&M Panthers, they take on the number 10 seed LSU. So, listen, man, it's great to see it. Great to see them get into the tournament. Not everybody, but every conference gets in as much like college basketball. Mm-hmm. Let's see if one of these teams can break through, though, and make some noise.
Yeah, we can. And that's one of those things where, these softball programs are pretty strong in the HBCU ranks. I don't think they get enough credit for the coverage and the strength that they have. So maybe they can get a game and maybe they can get some things going their way. Both of those regionals are close enough for North Carolina Central's fan base to drive down to Athens. It's probably like a 6-hour drive. And then on the other side, Prairie View, Dallas, there's nothing to get over to LSU from Dallas. So you can make sure, make that kind of drive, too, if you want to support those programs doing that big thing. And then the following week is when you're going to see the baseball, MEAC and SWAC baseball tournament. So, a lot of good activity going on right there. And I know you said that was the last thing, but we got to get a shout out to Eddie George, though.
Eddie George is getting to learn from NFL coaches now. He's going to be up there in Chicago learning from the Bears coaching staff. Yep. One of the things that the NFL has decided to try and do to improve their minority coaching candidate pool is allow college coaches to come through and shadow some of their head coaches and assistant coaches and things of that nature. So Eddie George will be up there in Chicago shadowing them. Wild that he's not in Nashville, but maybe he shadows the Titans all the time. Yeah. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a big-time program, man. And, for the NFL to continue to do that, it's sort of like an apprenticeship, internship type thing. And, for him to go to Chicago Bears, that's a big-time thing. It's the Bill Walsh Diversity Fellows. So you talked about how do we get these coaches able to take the next step to the next level. Programs like this will certainly help. But it's also the owners have to take it seriously. And it's not only on the coaches to build those relationships. The owners have to come down to the field, to the coach's office, to the coach's suites, and try to ingratiate themselves with these African-American coaches who deserve an opportunity. So hopefully this will help Eddie George. He needs a breakthrough year at Tennessee State. Yeah. That's your guy now, man. That's your guy now. He came in studio. Y'all tight now. And so we got to make sure Tennessee State gets it done.
Absolutely. That does it for this episode of HBCU Huddle. Thank you guys for watching. For Mike, I'm CJ. Everybody take care.